Hey, this is going to be a math video for this week on area and perimeter. So today for this lesson, we're just going to talk about area of a space. So if you are following along in your textbooks, you can turn to page 347 right now. Okay, so area is what we refer to make up the amount of space within a polygon. We've just learned about polygons. We already know that we can measure with feet, inches, meters, but we're going to be looking today at not how long something is, but how much space is within something. So over here on page 347 again, it says that we can count how many whole squares, square tiles, find the area to figure out how much space is in the polygon. So how many squares are in this polygon? 4. And this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We would measure the area of these shapes in their square units. So we couldn't just say the area is 4, it's 4 square tiles. And so later on, we'll get into using it specifically with inches and feet. But right now, all we know is that these are square tiles. So that is how much space is within the polygon. At the bottom here, it says the area is the amount of surface covered. It is measured in square units. So on the next page, 348, look at the figures and we'll count up how many there are. And then the answer will be in square tiles, or units squared is the more general term for that. Okay, so count these with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So number 1, or actually we'll just write it next to this one. So we'll say figure A has 9 square units. Let's count this one up. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 is 8. This one is an even figure, so we can just multiply for this. So 8 square units. Okay, now this one is unusual. We'll have to count it up rather than multiplying for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So figure C is 9 square units. Okay, now it says how many square tiles make each figure. We've already figured out that it's 9, 8, and 9. Each tile is 1 square unit. So what is the area of each figure? We would say 9 square units, 8 square units, 9 square units. And which figure has the smallest area or makes up the least amount of surface? Should be B. Which two figures have the same area? Should be A and C. Both have 9 square units. Okay. Now we can use square units and half square units to measure area. This is helpful when we have figures that don't have right angles, like a triangle or a trapezoid would be examples that might have half of a square unit. So for example, in this shape here, the yellow box is 1 square unit and the red triangle is half of a square unit. 2 halves together equal 1 whole. So if we were to count up the tiles in this shape, it's 1, 2, 3, plus 2 halves make 1 whole. So our answer is 4 square units. Okay, now this figure on the next page is made up of some square and some half square units, and we'll find the area in square units. It says each square is 1 square unit, so figure B is made up of how many squares of the same size? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 squares plus 2 halves, which make 1 whole, so it is 4 plus 1, 5. So the answer would be 5 square units. The area of figure B is 5 square units. Here's a hands-on activity that you can try on your own if you'd like to make 4 different figures. use some squares and half squares for each figure, and you can use pieces of paper in little squares, or you might just be able to draw something like that, but we'll skip over it for now. Okay, now we are on page 351. Okay, so it says to find the area of each figure, give your answer in square units. Remember that. Okay. Once we count up how many squares there are, we can't just say the number. We have to make sure that it is in square units, or else it makes it seem like that's just how long maybe it is. So this has all right angles, 3 equal groups, so we can just multiply for this. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So the area of figure A is 12 square units. Figure B has some triangles at the top. Those are what we're calling half square units. So we can count up the squares, and then 2 halves would make a whole, so we'll add 1 at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 2 halves equals 1. So 6 plus 1 equals 7. 7 square units is the area of figure B. So looking at the two of these, you can probably immediately tell without even looking at the number which one has a smaller area, but also we can use the number to see that figure B has a smaller area and figure A has a larger area. Okay, now find the area of each figure. It says, give your answer in square units. This one has only squares, not half square units, so we can just count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. Over here, we've got some half square units. Remember, 2 equal 1 whole. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1 is 5, plus another 1 is 6. Over here, we also have some half square units, so we're going to add 2 together to become 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus these 2 equal 8, plus these 2 equal 9. Okay, and another one that also has some half square units. These 2 together will be 1. We're going to add that at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 1 is 6. Okay, now of all of these figures, which one has the smallest area? This one, number 5. Actually, and it's also labeled A. So we'll write figure A has the smallest area because it has an area of 5 square units. Which one has the largest area? Figure C. And which figures have the same area? B and D. They both have an area of 6 square units. Okay, this is our last section here. Now, it says which 2 figures have the same area. We need to figure out what the areas are first, and we'll go ahead and write that along the side. This one has 4 plus 2 equals 6. This is 6 square units. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 square units. So the answers are not A and B, we know. And this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can already tell it's the same as A. Let's write A and C as the figures with the same area or the same amount of square units. And finally, it says you want figures A, B, and C to have the same area. Explain 2 ways of doing this. So to do that, we could add on 1 box or 1 square unit to figure B. Try to think of another way we could do it. There are multiple places we could add a square unit to figure B. The other option would be to take away a square from both figures A and figure C. I'll draw out an example of how to create, let's make that black, this figure B, the same as figures A and C. Okay, So you would just need to add 1 square unit to figure B or to remove square units from figures A and C. The last part is optional, but it says if you have 9 half-square tiles, use all the tiles to make 3 figures. Compare your figures with those made by your classmates, in this case not classmates, but maybe if you want to work with a sibling or check with one of your parents. And then it says, what do you notice about the areas of the figures? Okay, now without going over some of the figures to make, you should be able to see that if there are 9 half-square tiles, and if 2 halves make a whole, sorry, I don't know why I held up my pinky there. Now, if we have 9 half-square tiles, there's always going to be 1 extra. So unlike all of these ones that we've been doing with half-square units, we would be left with an extra half, which we won't be working on in 3rd grade geometry as we work on area and perimeter. But that's just something to note, that if you have an odd number like 9, you will have an extra half in these kind of scenarios. Okay, that is all for today. I'll have workbook pages on Google Classroom for you to practice as you just count up the tiles, and every 2 half-square tiles will make 1 whole. See you later.